Hello, I'm Drew from Punch Punch Magic, and I thought it'd be a good time to finally go over what my favorite games were from this year. Now, to be clear, this is a totally subjective list of just my favorite experiences from the year, not necessarily what games I think were the best games of the year, as in, like, objectively really good games. No, that's not what I'm doing here. I'm doing my favorite games as in the games that I played the most and the games I had the most fun with from this year. Keep in mind, I don't own a PS4 or a Switch, so you're not going to see things like Horizon Zero Dawn or Zelda Breath of the Wild on this list because I haven't played them, and I'm sure that they're probably better than every single game on this list. My rules for this list were that I had to complete them or play them for the first time in 2017. So what that means is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a brand new game from this year that I played. I'm going to actually mention some games that are actually kind of old, some of them pretty damn old, that I'm going to talk about here just because I played them for the first time this year, and I think that since this channel we go over kind of nostalgic games, it fits into this list. These are the games that I will remember for playing this year. I've listed these games in order of how much I enjoyed them, and that's really it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this year's honorable mentions, aka the older games that didn't release this year that I still want to talk about. And my first honorable mention for this year, earning the I Just Wanna Talk About It award, is The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Now, if you've been watching me on Twitch, I have been playing this game or trying to play it every single Monday, and I have just completely fallen in love with this game. I love every aspect of it, even the things that people tend to hate, like the combat. Like, I just love how it feels like a tabletop RPG where you have to dice roll for everything. It's been a long time since I've played like a really in-depth, stat-focused RPG like this, where it's really focused on the numbers that your characters have behind their stats. So it's really refreshing for me to play a game that's just like this immersive and this in-depth. And I know some people argue it's not immersive because it looks like shit and the animations are terrible, it takes you out of the experience, but the fact that you don't have quest markers and things like that, you have to learn the world, you have to learn the characters, and you have to learn where all the towns and things are, and you have to figure out how to go through quests on your own. I just love that. It makes me feel like I'm a part of this world and that I'm actually inhabiting it. Obviously the game doesn't look that good and the combat isn't as good as the newer games, but I'm still having an absolute blast playing the vanilla version of this game. I'm not really adding any mods. I'm adding some mods to kind of improve the overall experience, make it run better on a modern system, but other than that, I'm getting like the full-fledged vanilla experience here, and I love it. And the next honorable mention, earning the Glory Days reward, is Destiny 1. Destiny 1 for the Age of Triumph that released earlier this year. Now, I've said it a bunch of times on this channel, but I absolutely love Destiny 1, and the Age of Triumph update that added a bunch of stuff or older content to the game and brought it up to endgame level was just a great experience for me. It was really nostalgic to be able to go through all the old raids again, and to go through some of the raids that I didn't like before, but still go through them again with the same group of people that I've been going through. It was a great experience, and it had me really hyped up for Destiny 2, only for that to be totally shattered and ruined. Yeah, so the reason this earned the Glory Days award is because I will forever remember this last hurrah, the Age of Triumph for Destiny 1, as like the best time to play Destiny 1. It had all of the content, it was all relevant, it was all there, you could play whatever you wanted, it was all endgame focused, and it was super easy to level up your character. It was just absolutely fun. There was no compromise in making this game as fun as it could at the very end, and I know it took a long time to get there, but what a friggin' journey it was to get to the end of year 3 for Destiny 1, and I still think that that game is fantastic. It's too bad that they totally ruined it with Destiny 2. And the next honorable mention, earning the Still Seriously Holds Up award, is Dark Souls 1. I went back and played this game finally. I played it, dabbled in it a little bit before, but I was really intimidated by this game. But since last year I finally got through Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 2, I was kind of doing a backwards tread through these games, and I finally got to Dark Souls 1, which I was absolutely terrified of. I mean, everything about it was just the most intimidating thing for me, but I got through the game, I beat every boss, I did everything you could in the game, and I am so proud of myself. It's like one of those moments as a gamer that you will remember. I beat Dark Souls 1, and while some people might not be that impressed by it and they say, oh, Dark Souls 1 is easy, for me it was an incredible feat, and I will always remember fighting the bosses for the first time and getting through and getting the Lord Soul and Lord Vessel and all that stuff, and it was a great experience. And the fact that it's not a linear experience, you can go and do whatever you want straight from the beginning, and you kind of have to figure out what to do it's frustrating for new players, but if you invest some time and learn the world and learn what you're doing on your main quest, it's an incredible experience, and it's a great experience as a gamer to kind of play through this and figure out where you are as a gamer. It's challenging, but I wouldn't say it's the most impossible thing in the world, and it's definitely a fair game. It's one of those games that I don't think any of the difficulty is artificial, with the exception of some unfair bosses here and there. But I mean, it's an old game, so you're gonna find weird design decisions like that everywhere. But yeah, overall, Dark Souls 1 is an incredible experience. I do think it's one of the best games ever made of all time. I finally finished it this year, and I'm incredibly happy that I got to play through it. And the last honorable mention for this year, earning the best developer / community support, is Rainbow Six Siege. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I was not interested in this game whatsoever when my friends finally got it. I game share with my friend Brandon, but he really wanted to get in this game. My other friends wanted to get in this game. We tried it on the free weekend. They liked it. I did not like this game at all because I really sucked at it. I was terrible because there's no aim assist and things like that. So I really said, you know what, I'm not paying for this. So Brandon bought it all out of his own pocket, and I am so friggin' glad he did. I mean, the journey I took to enjoy this game and then get good at this game, I know that's the meme, get good, but like it's such an incredible learning experience to get good at this game and to play it and enjoy it with your friends. You learn the maps, you learn the characters, you learn when you see opposing characters what they can do and what they have. You know, if you hear a fuse, you know to count how many times he uses his fuse bomb, because oh, now he doesn't have any more fuses. He's essentially just a regular operator at this point. So it's cool that you go through a journey like that with this game, to the point where now I can go to any of the vanilla maps and just know them, almost their entire layouts, and know as soon as I see a character on a camera, I know exactly where they are. And that's a really cool experience for somebody like me, where I didn't grow up with, I mean, I grew up around the games like Counter-Strike and things like that, but I never really played them. I never had a multiplayer game that I just lived and breathed. And this game, Rainbow Six Siege, I can just always come back to and always have a good time. Also, Ubisoft's support of this game and the support of their community has been really surprising from one of the big AAA publishers. They've really put a lot of effort into keeping this game current and keeping it fun and bringing new content into it. I mean, we're about to get into year 3 of this game's lifespan, and they have a ton of new content. There's rumors of a zombie horde mode and new operators and new maps, and they're revamping some old maps. It's just incredible that this game is 3 years old and they're still supporting it this much. And yeah, sure, it's probably a big cash cow for Ubisoft at this point, because a lot of people are playing this on consoles and on PC, but I mean, I don't really care. I think that they deserve it. It's a legitimately well-designed game. It's a well-made game. Everything about it is just really well done. I can't say the same for when it launched in vanilla. I mean, maybe it wasn't as balanced, but right now, if you are unsure about it, I would highly suggest waiting for another free weekend to try it out. The community might seem a little toxic at first, but if you play some ranked play or something like that, you'll have a great time, and you will learn to be able to play with these people and just take all of the tea bags. Just take them. Alright, so now let's go ahead and get into my favorite games from the year, the games that were released this year, so they're kind of current experiences. Alright, so first off, earning the Best Holy Shit Moments award is PUBG, or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I can't believe that this game first entered early access this year. I mean, it really goes to show that some early access games can get out of early access in a reasonable time frame, and some people might argue that the game is still unfinished or whatever, but it's in a 1.0 state, and on PC it is fantastic. Now, one thing I'm not going to mention here is the Xbox One port, because it is just a mess. What I'm going to be talking about is the PC version of the game for the most part. So yeah, if you want to see how I feel about the Xbox One version, you can check the video here. That's not what I'm going to be talking about here. But what I will be talking about is the overall PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds formula of landing, finding loot, and just trying to survive and win. It's an incredible feeling getting to the top 25 or top 10 10, and my first time playing this game, it was incredibly intense. Just being in the top 50, I was like, oh my god, 50 other people have died, and I'm here, I'm still here, and it's a cool feeling, and it's really, really hard to explain how intense this game gets towards the end of each round. You know, if you're kind of in the top 10 situation, and you're in this tiny circle, and there's like no cover in the middle of a field, you're just laying down waiting for someone to get up or snipe you or try to just charge you or something like that. It's an intense feeling, and every single game is different. There are good games, there are bad games, there are games where you don't find any loot, there are other games where you land alone in a compound and you find literally everything you need. And there are a lot of problems with the game still right now when you look at it at a very technical level. Like, there's still problems with rubber banding, which they have fixed a lot, and there's still some problems with pop-in and things like that. It's definitely not a finished experience. I can highly recommend it for basically anybody who has a gaming PC to try this game out. And you know, chances are pretty good that if you have a gaming PC, you probably have played it, because this game has sold absolute gangbusters. And if it's not for you, that's fine. That doesn't make you weird or anything like that. You're not weird for not enjoying it. Some people don't like the kind of slower paced gameplay that this has. Maybe you like a game like Fortnite, which is a lot faster paced, or something like that. You should not believe all of the hype. It's not the best game ever made, but it is still a really, really good game at a fundamental level, and I'm excited to see where they're going to take it within the next year. And the next game that I haven't really talked all that much about on this channel that is earning the Best Change in Direction award is Assassin's Creed Origins. It's funny that the game about Egyptians that worshipped cats, my cat wants to join the discussion. But yeah, I've actually been a fan of the Assassin's Creed games for a while. Well, I was a fan. I really liked Assassin's Creed 1 for what it was, and then I seriously enjoyed Assassin's Creed 2. I never played Assassin's Creed 3 because I kind of got burnt out on Brotherhood and Revelations. That once Assassin's Creed 3 came out, I was like, I don't care anymore. So once, you know, Unity came out and Syndicate, I didn't care. I wasn't on board. But once I got wind that this game was going to change up the formula a lot, I really put my ear to the ground and kept an eye on this game, and I'm glad I did. I really like all the changes that they made. The combat is really fun. The shift to more RPG focused gameplay was a great decision. Overall, I think the gameplay in this game is near perfect to where it should be. It's not amazing. I would like a little bit more variance in animations and things like that, but this is a great foundation for them to build up on for the next Assassin's Creed. And if they keep going this route with Assassin's Creed, I'm definitely going to be getting the next one, because I had an absolute blast playing through this game. I mean, especially towards the end of the game, you start fighting more bosses and things like that. And I thought the boss mechanics were fine. A lot of people didn't like them, but I thought that they were really fun and challenging, you know, fighting giant elephants and things like that. It's really cool. There could have been a little bit more variety in enemy types and things like that, so hopefully when the next Assassin's Creed comes out, they do something like that. Deciding to go to Egypt was a really good opportunity for them to get back to the heights, the literal heights of the franchise, where you can climb up these really tall places. I mean, the first time I climbed the Great Pyramids was an incredible experience. You can see like half the map. It's really cool. It's really awesome, and that keeps a theme throughout. You'd think with all of these little villages and stuff like that, you wouldn't get many opportunities to climb up these tall buildings and things like that, but you do get a lot of opportunities for that. Also, one of the complaints I hear from hardcore Assassin's Creed fans is that they really lessened the assassin part of the Assassin's Creed, but I actually was grateful for that. I don't know, I'm glad they had a shift in direction. Now for the next game, if they can make it feel a little bit more assassin-y on top of having the really good combat and that's improved, I think that the next Assassin's Creed could be something that's really great. As for some of the things that I didn't like about the new Assassin's Creed, a lot of the side quests were a little fetch questy, kind of samey, go here, do this. Also, the story was a little disappointing to me. Bayek is a fantastic character. I loved everything to do with Bayek. His wife Aya was a big point of contention for me and for some other fans. Some people love her. Other people like me couldn't really stand her edgelord nature. She was just a little too angry and vengeful for me. Like, she was just kind of blinded, which I know that's an aspect of her character, but they never expanded on it. She didn't really have much of an arc. Just know that the gameplay in this game is very good. The open world is fantastic. It's one of the best open worlds in recent memory. It's not a slog to get through. A lot of the content is fun. Some of the side quests are a little samey, but they're also very good, worthwhile side quests. And the story is a little disappointing, even though I do think that the character that you play as is one of the best in Assassin's Creed history. Alright, so now I'm going to get into my last two favorite games from the year, and these two are kind of interchangeable. I really liked both of them, about the same amount, but I do think one just kind of edged out just a little bit more. So let's go ahead and get into the first one, which earns the Best Nostalgia Hit While Still Being Good in Its Own Right award. And I'm talking about Prey. Now, I did make a kind of long video going into Prey and how much I was enjoying it in the first couple hours and things like that. You can check that out here. But that feeling of enjoyment really did continue until the very end. I did enjoy the game almost all the way throughout. It brought me a lot of great nostalgia for games like Bioshock and Bioshock 2, and it did remind me a lot of games like Deus Ex in some ways. I mean, the gameplay loop overall is very similar to Bioshock, especially the first Bioshock. I mean, you even take pictures of enemies to get better at killing them and do more damage to them and getting certain advantages and things like that. So that's really the only thing I could knock this game for, is that it's a little too similar to Bioshock. They played it a little too much on the safe side in terms of copying that game almost beat for beat. But with all of that said, I do think that Prey is still one of the best experiences from the year from a single player standpoint. The narrative takes a lot of twists and turns. There's some interesting characters that you meet, and they do go to very exciting places. And that aspect in particular, I think, is the best part of the game. It's the space station itself, the fact that you go out into space and you see all the different sections of the space station, you know, the rich sections, the kind of poor rundown sections and things like that. You really get to see how this society worked, and the game really does encourage you to go all over the space station to see everything. I like that it is kind of like an open world aspect. You know, you could go off into space and fly to any part of the space station that you wanted, assuming that you had it unlocked already, but you could do that towards the end of the game, and it was really interesting. It made it feel like a really cohesive place, and it was an actual real place that you could imagine visiting. Now, the game's combat is kind of unresponsive and kind of boring after a while, especially if you're playing like me and you didn't use any powers your first playthrough, because the achievements are kind of annoying in this game. But if you don't care for achievements or anything like that, then just play through this game however you want. Use the powers however you want, use the guns however you want, and you'll have the best experience with this game. I also like the RPG side of the game, where the different stats and perks that you choose affect your character and affect the world around you and affect how you interact with people and how certain enemies will interact with you. You know, if you don't choose any powers, then the auto turrets in the game won't see you as an alien and you can just walk around freely, but the more powers you get, then the more your blood will get mixed with this alien blood, and auto turrets will actually fire on you as soon as they see you because they'll think that you're an alien. It's things like that that really give the gameplay depth, and while I don't think that the point-to-point combat, you know, you shooting enemies is that exciting, it's the depth and everything behind the scenes with the combat that makes this game so fun. So I'd say if you're a big fan of System Shock or Bioshock or Deus Ex or games like that, then you'll really enjoy this game. It's got a nice slow pace to it. The conclusion to the story is kind of like, it's kind of dumb, but whatever. They're obviously sequel baiting with this game, but the gameplay leading up until that point and the fact that you can make choices in the story up until that point, I think it's a great experience from beginning to end. And even though it did borrow a lot from other franchises, I do think it was an absolute love letter to this style of game, and these developers obviously cared a whole hell of a lot when making this game, and they didn't really compromise that much. So I do want to encourage people playing this game, because it really just shows when developers put their all into a project and just put so much time and effort into something, you can get a genuinely good, well-polished, and well-made game like this. And that leads me into my final favorite game, my most favorite game from 2017, earning the Damn Games Can Still Be This Good award, and that is Resident Evil 7. Now, this might be a controversial choice. Some people might say the story in Resident Evil 7 was really stupid. How can you say that? How can you say that this game is good because the combat's so slow and boring? I just don't agree with any of that, really. First of all, the biggest complaint I hear about this game is the story is just over the top and ridiculous, when I think it actually takes a very gradual and slow pace up to that ridiculous level in a perfect Resident Evil fashion. I mean, just looking back at Resident Evil 4, it kind of takes a slow pace to get to the ridiculous nature that that game eventually gets to. I mean, you go from sneaking around a village to destroying a giant blood monster spider thing with an RPG. I mean, it gets ridiculous, but it takes a gradual pace to get there, and I think Resident Evil 7 does that the exact same way. They take that really gradual pace. So I think the narrative, honestly, is fine. I was gripped throughout the entire thing. I loved what they did with the family in this game, and the mansion that you spend so much time on, and the just property that you spend so much time on. It really does have a life of its own. You believe these characters, you believe what's happening to them, even in this completely ridiculous universe. You believe the characters are real and you sympathize with them, which I think is great. I love games that make you sympathize with your villain. I think that that is a really good thing that this game does well. It makes you sympathize and think, you know what? If I were in that same situation, I don't know if I would have done anything differently. And while I do agree that the main character is kind of weak, he doesn't really do much in the story, he is just a vessel for the player, and they do make that work. Now, I do gotta talk about my favorite thing from Resident Evil 7, is that is the gameplay and the game mechanics that they kind of revamped. This franchise desperately needed another kind of revamp or reboot, kind of in the same vein as Resident Evil 4. They really needed another soft reboot like that to bring the franchise back to the forefront, and I think that it was a fantastic way to do it. I'm getting a lot of the same vibes that I had with Resident Evil 4 that I'm with this game, because just so much love and care went into crafting this game. There's so much detail packed into every single level, I mean everywhere you walk. And yeah, I know this game is heavily influenced by PT or Silent Hills, whatever you want to call it, that simple demo, and that showed that people really wanted this first person kind of horror experience, and I know it was really influenced by that, but they really took that influence and made it into something that was their own, and something that was really creative and just well made. And the reason that this game earns the Damn Games Can Still Be This Good award is because I really don't have any problems with this game, like, at all. Yeah, I said the story does get ridiculous, but I love that about it. I said the main character is kind of weak, but I can work around that. That's like one minor flaw in a game that I think is otherwise pretty damn great, and I wish this game was getting more recognition. So yeah, if you haven't played Resident Evil 7 and you were a fan of Resident Evil 4, or you've never tried the Resident Evil franchise ever, well, you can still jump in here. It's a great game. If you're not into spooky games, it might be hard for you to get through, but I say if you can struggle through that, you will find it a very fun and very engaging, immersive, and just well-made, well-detailed experience. And those are my favorite games from the year. And I know a lot of games were missing pretty much any single PlayStation or Switch exclusive, and for that I'm sorry. While you're here, be sure to check out my other video that I released at the same time of my most disappointing games from the year of 2017. I released it the same day as this, so go ahead and check that out if you want. Also, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and check out all of our content from the past year. We've made a lot of growth in the past year. You'll be able to see how my style has kind of changed over time, and hopefully the quality has improved. But yeah, we're very excited for 2018 and what's in store for us and in store for the channel. We're very excited for where this year is going to go for us and how much we're going to grow. So I just want to say thank you guys for all of you who have watched this video or watched any of our videos. Thank you so much for supporting us and for supporting Punch Punch Magic. It has been a great journey for the past year. So yeah, I'll see you guys in Patch Notes Season 2. Bye.